Hello, everyone. Welcome to FC PopCorn, a Film Companion original set of podcasts. This time, we are talking about Ponniyin Selvan, the books and the movies. The second one is coming out this week. It's all very exciting. And with me, I have Vishal Menon, who is the editor of FC South. Who has many strong feelings, I feel, about both the films and has almost finished all the books. So this is an informed perspective. We also have our resident PS expert, Sowmya Rajendran, who writes for us regularly, and in fact is the reason that I found out about Ponniyin Selvan before the movie. Like, I think most of us Northeast discovered the books after watching the film, but thanks to Sowmya writing this very cool article about people who have gone on tours to the various places that are mentioned in Ponniyin Selvan, the books, I discovered this epic. So I want to start with you, Sowmya. Can you tell us how you got into PS?
Yeah, so having grown up in Chennai, Ponniyin Selvan was always there in the air. I knew so many of my friends who were fans of the novel, who had read the books, and they knew all the conspiracy theories and everything. So, but I myself never read the books. Perhaps I was lazy, or because the size was just too intimidating. But a few years ago, some of my friends who met on a Facebook group for mothers decided to do this tour of Ponniyin Selvan. And, it's really difficult for a bunch of women to plan a trip and actually go on it. And they did it, and they had all these marvelous photographs, and one of them wrote a really lovely blog piece on the adventures that they had. So I was really fascinated by how much love people have for this novel, and it's endured like 7 decades, which is not a joke. And I had just kind of quit my job about a year ago, and then I felt this need to read something meaningful and just immerse myself in literature, because I had literally no time to read for the 6 years that I was working in a very busy media house. And then I decided to take the plunge into the Ponniyin Selvan world. Of course, the fact that the movie was coming was a trigger as well. And then I picked the books up and I just couldn't stop reading. So I finished reading the 5 books in 3 weeks. Because I just wanted to know, okay, what's happening next? What's happening next? I did not expect that from Ponniyin Selvan, because I thought, okay, it's historical fiction. It'll be kind of slow.
Sorry, Sowmya, were you reading in Tamil?
No, I read it in English.
Okay.
So I can read Tamil, and I started reading it in Tamil, but then it was just too, I think it was not fast enough for me. So because I wanted to know what's going to happen next. So I thought, okay, let me just read the translation. So I found Karthik Narayan's translation, and I compared it with the English original, and it seemed close enough, at least the first few pages. So then I just took the plunge and read it in one shot.
So Vishal, you did not take leave to read Ponniyin Selvan. I can confirm this. And you managed to read it while holding down a full-time job. But did you read it did you read it like homework, or was the movie good enough to make you want to read it?
No, it was a bit like homework only. It was like, okay, how can I watch the movie without reading the books? I knew the general story because everything that's on YouTube, everything that's on Wikipedia, I had kind of finished, because there was a talk that Chekka Chavandavanam was Ponniyin Selvan, like a contemporary take on Ponniyin Selvan. So at that time, it would have been weird to go review that movie without knowing anything about Ponniyin Selvan. So everything basic that you needed to know, I studied and I understood at that time. So like when this Aishwarya Rajesh character comes on a boat, you're trying to think, okay, is this Pongurli? All those kind of basic things you had in place even during Ponniyin Selvan, CCV. But the actual reading started only maybe a year ago. And for me, it was like, that pace at which you're reading, like exactly like how she said. Of course, I took a huge break after the movie because I was exhausted by that universe. It was just too much of that kingdom. But then at least at the pace at which I finished the first 3.5, 4 books, is like I haven't read anything like that after maybe like what do you call it, Aragon and Eldest and all those kind of things like in 8th standard, 9th standard, So for me, it was like amazing, to get into that world, and how excited I was to talk about it to whoever I was meeting. And so it was nice to go back to that, that phase, to be obsessed with some book like this.
When you were reading, did you keep thinking of the film, or because for me, I actually very quickly stopped thinking about the film. It was very much its own world for me. So I was wondering if you felt the same way.
It's really funny you asked this, because until the time the promotions and the trailer started, I was really like the faces in the book. I mean, I'd created my own faces for certain people, like what would this guy look like, what would Arunmozhi Varman look like, and all that, and that's why that scene is so, we'll get to that later, but then certain things are so exciting because you're waiting 1.5 books to see what a person looks like. They're talking about one person, and then it takes 1.5 books to finally see him. But then the second the trailer and the teaser started dropping, and it's too big to ignore, right? It's too much of an effort to not watch the trailer and teaser. So once those things started, then my faces got stuck with the ones in the movie. It was completely different, the people that I had imagined and the ones that eventually became the characters, and the faces in my imagination also became the ones in the movie. So that was a little disappointing. If I'd finished the books much before the trailer, then I wouldn't have had that issue.
Also, everybody in the novel is really young, right? Because Nandini is only 16, and all these, and Arulmozhi Varman is just like, he's still a teenager, and he's just like coming of age, so as to speak. And then you have these actors who are well into their 40s and, playing
50s.
These characters. I guess that could not be helped. Also to kind of make the movie relevant for an audience of today. I think if there was a 16-year-old Nandini trying to seduce some Paduveta, it would probably look weird. So I think they had to take that call, and also they needed the stars to sell the film.
This is something that I think ends up being a really complicated thing when you're doing historical fiction. Not so much mythological stuff, because you have a lot more freedom to adapt things in a mythological story. So even if a myth says somebody was 12 years old, you make that person 20, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. But like these are historical figures. As the books in Ponniyin Selvan constantly remind you, like this is a very specific historical period. There are traces of it that continue in our present day. So this is not make-believe. So it's a time in which a 16-year-old can and has actually lived the bulk of her life. Mortality was kind of young at that point of time, but also like I was reading a biography of Cleopatra by Stacey Schiff. Fantastic book, fantastic biographer. But like Cleopatra had like 3 husbands by the time she was 25, and 2 of them were 11 years old and 13 years old, and her brothers, but that's what were the mores of that time. So on one hand, when something like Ponniyin Selvan, the movies come out, I'm sometimes sort of, I regret a little bit that our Indian film industries are not able to take a chance on building franchises and new actors and stars the way something like an Avengers will do, like a Marvel world will do. They will pick up some stars who are completely obscure, some who are kind of well-known but not as well-known, and sort of literally build the franchise and these celebrities as the story progresses. We're so much more dependent on the existing star value to bring people to the audience, and we have less of a confidence in the narrative, even when the narrative is as strong as Ponniyin Selvan's is, that we will need the big names. In the book, Aditya Karikalan, Vikram's character, is 18, 20 years old, something like that. Like he was 18 when he killed Veera Pandya. Like that's constantly in his description. So he's like 20, 22 at best, right? Vikram is a bit older.
I think his son is older, yeah.